it on the left-hand toolbar, right below the artistic media, right here. All right, so let's go ahead and left-click on that, and then we're going to go over to my workspace and just create a nice rectangle. All right, size, we're going to go right around 6 inches. Let's go right around 6 inches, maybe 6. You know what? Let's go ahead and make it bigger because we still want to put the America on the top. So let's go 9.5, 9.6. That's fine. So that's a good size there. All right. So next step is filling this box in. All right. So to do that, we have a pretty cool feature here in the wizard, and it's called the hatch fill. All right. And the way the hatch fill works, it's going to fill basically a block design like we have here, and you'll see where the way it works, it actually places lines going horizontal. Alright, so let me show you how that feature works. So let me take off the add stones feature here real quick just to show you what we get when we do a hatch fill. Alright, so hatch fill, you can see it basically creates lines going horizontally all the way down to the bottom of that box. Alright, so that's a hatch fill. Now, the difference between that and an island fill is this. You can see with the island fill, it actually creates that same shape over and over and over all the way to a center point here. So that's where you'll see different times you want to use the island fill rather than the hatch fill, just depending on the actual shape that you want to place the stones into. Alright, so in this case, you can see right off the bat, let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and create 2 boxes here and show you the difference. So now I can press the add stones. So let's take a look at the actual settings we're working with here. So I have inside selected, I have add stones, and that's it. Everything else is my standard settings here that our wizard comes with. So we're going to leave those as is because I just want to fill the inside. We're not doing anything fancy. We're not going to the outside. We're not creating multiple layers. We're just going to fill this square, all right, or this rectangle. So let's go ahead and go to the top one here and let's do an island fill. So here's my island fill. All right, you guys can see what's happening here because if you guys remember that original fill that we did without the stones, you can see where that's becoming an issue right where we're reaching these corners here. And then of course at the middle piece here, there's a gap. Okay, so what's happening here is this is no good. This won't work for us. All right, and even if I go back and click on the corner detect right here, now, corner detect is going to detect all those corners, and it's going to place basically another stone right on top of it, so it creates a perfect angle. All right. But again, because of the way that island fill works, you can see, yeah, it cleaned up the corners here and here and here and here, but we still have that gap right in the center. And also, if you look at the actual way that the stones flow, they're not even. All right. You can see there's a little bit of, and if you kind of take a look back, it kind of throws you off a little bit. All right. So that right off the bat tells me that's not the route I want to go because I know there's a feature that will fill this out without me having to do any type of editing to the box. And that's, again, the hatch fill. All right, so let's click on the bottom one here and let's left click on hatch fill. Bam. Now watch the difference between these two. Now which one do you guys think is going to be easier to work with and quicker to work with in this case? Either the top one where we did the island fill or the bottom one here where we just did a hatch fill. Hatch fill, right? The one on the bottom, absolutely. With this one, we're done. Now we can move on to the actual designing part of the process. All right, so again, island fill, more for, I would say, more bubbly designs. So if you have a bubble font or if you have a heart or if you have a circle, things like that are going to be done with island fill. Whereas a full fill with a square like this, we're going to go hatch fill. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense on why we're using hatch fill rather than the island fill for this design? All right, perfect. And that's the concept behind the free webinars, guys. Is not just creating the design, but also making sure that you guys understand why we're using the different tools that we are. All right, so even though if it sounds a little bit repetitive, if you guys already know this, I know a lot of you guys, I see a lot of names in here that are brand new, so I want to make sure that I cover the reasoning for us using the different tools as well, beyond just creating the design. All right, so I want to make sure you guys get that concept down. So if we're filling a square rectangle, we're using hatch. If we're doing something more bubbly, like a circle, heart, if we're doing a bubble font, then we're using island fill. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this top one here because obviously that's not going to be the one that we want to work with. All right, now if I look at this design right here that we just created, all right, notice that there's one thing going on with this design that is going to cause big issues when I send this to my cutter. Does anybody see those issues? What's going on with this image right here? Let me go to wireframe real quick so you guys can see what we're working with. So if I go to view, wireframe, can you guys see what's happening here? You see that original box still on the perimeter there? And then you still have those lines going right across of it, right? So those are our paths. Remember when I did the fill without the adding stones? What happened was it just places those paths on the screen, right? So what happens when I do the add stones, it goes an extra step and actually adds the stones to those paths. So it's our job, once that's happened, to go in there and remove the paths. All right, so yeah, we can go in here and zoom in real close and then just click on any of these and hit delete. But of course, we made things easier for you guys so you don't have to go through this and delete every single one of these paths. All right, so what I can actually do is highlight it all. I'm going to go from the outside here, left click down, drag my mouse all the way to the bottom of the screen, and then right. So now we've highlighted the entire image here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what's happening here. All right, so just watch the lines that are going through my circles. I'm going to go ahead and hold shift, and then right here we have clear paths at the bottom. Do you guys see where the clear paths is? So the clear paths is going to have kind of a curved line with blue circles on them and then an X at the end. That's my clear paths. Two ways to work with the clear paths. Shift clicking it and just left clicking it. Now when I say shift clicking it, I'm referring to holding down shift and then left clicking on my mouse. So that's what we're going to do in this case. I'm going to go ahead and shift down and then left click on clear paths. And you can see what's happened here is we have gotten rid of every single path that was originally going right through my circles. So now, now when I send this over to my cutter, we don't have that issue anymore. We're just going to go send this to our cutters, and the cutter is only going to recognize circles, not a line going through my stones. All right? Does that make sense on why we had to get rid of those paths there? Excellent, guys. All right. Glad. Excellent. So it looks like everybody's on the same page right now. Now we can go into the actual creating of this design. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to it. So American flag, all right, so American flag has what? A nice rectangle here for our stars, right? So let's go ahead and just create a imaginary rectangle with our pick tool around this area right up here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we can always adjust it as we're going. All right, so I'm going to start here at the top. I'm going to left click down, and again, there's our imaginary rectangle that we're creating. And we're going to go right around here and go to the right. Now, again, just kind of stop where you think is going to make a good size for our stars. And you can see by doing that, it highlights all of the stones that were inside of that imaginary rectangle I created originally. All right, so from this step, it's really quick and easy. Let's go ahead and change our color so we can make that blue. And there's the beginning of our flag. All right, is everybody good to this point here? Does everybody see where we're going here? And the advantage of working with the rhinestones is that because they're all individual objects, it's really easy to be able to go in here and interchange the colors or move around some areas that you don't want to maybe keep in there. So you have a lot of advantages to working with the rhinestones. Just remember though, you can't just grab one and expect all the reds to go with it. You do have to do certain things to be able to select all the red. Alright, so you guys ready to create the stripes? Let's do it. Alright, so for the stripes, we already have red here, so let's go ahead and just create the white. So we can maybe go 3 down. Let's go 3 down and see how that's going to work out. So by 3 down, I mean count 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to start at this one here. And I want to go ahead and start on the top here. Notice when I create this imaginary rectangle around my stones, I can actually touch the ones on top. Because the only way it's going to select them all is if you're completely over the stone. So notice how I'm selecting right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stones that are technically touching this box. All right, just think the one inside there is technically inside the box. All right, but if I go ahead and left click and let go, the only one that's going to be selected is the one that was completely inside of that imaginary box. All right, so that makes it really easy. I can just go from out here, highlight this row. We're going to go 3 down. So again, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then this one right here is where we're going to go ahead and highlight. So we're going to go all the way to the end, right around here. Oh, actually right here. And you can see it highlights only those three right there. So we can make those yellow for the time being. All right, so let's keep that going. Let's go ahead and keep that momentum going there. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3. And there'll be this one, and then we're going to go down 3 right here. And again, we're just going to go ahead and zoom all the way out. And 3 is right there. All right, so those are 3. Let's make that yellow. All right, so you guys can see how we're just now customizing those stripes to make it, to give it that actual American flag look. All right, so now we're gonna go back here, count 3, 1, 2, 3 again. And let's go down, bam, and knock those out there. There's 3 more, perfect. All right, so we're just gonna keep going through this and finish this process off here. All right, so again, 1, 2, 3. Make sure you highlight all of these. We're gonna go all the way out here, and there's our yellow. All right, and it always makes it easier if you zoom out 1, 2, 3. But then again, make sure if you do zoom out that you are still able to see where you're selecting. In this case, let me make sure 1, 2, 3, we're good. All right, and the biggest thing is making sure that you don't miss any others, that you keep it going down the line so you don't miss a layer or a line there. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go right around here and make it yellow. And then we're just going to go ahead and finish this off. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just keep it right there and delete this last row here? And there we go. So we have our American flag. What do you guys think so far, guys? Pretty easy to do, right? Once we're able to just create that box, it's just about splitting it up and separating the colors. You know what else we can do? Let's go here and let's make this blue. I don't like the way there's just a single line there. So again, like I mentioned before, we can always go back in there and adjust it as we're going. And you saw I didn't like the way that this bottom line here extended, so we just changed the color. All right, so there's our American flag. Now we just need to go in here and change the colors of the stars. And now that, again, very easily done. We can just go in here and you can do a couple ways. We can select a couple stones here, make that yellow, because obviously it's going to match the yellow there. And we can just go every other one like that. You can see how easy we can select all of these. You see that? How easy it is to select all our stars there. So now we can just keep that kind of that concept going and create all your stars. Did I actually get 13 stars? Or 13 stripes, Sue? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, that is good. So I'm glad you noticed that. That doesn't happen very often. Let's put it that way. That was as random as possible for me to create that square or that rectangle there. And I mean, there was no real strategy behind it. I just went at it, and it worked out. So there you go. It must be a good Friday. All right. So again, with the stones, I'm not going to go through all of them, but again, just know that you can just go in here easily. Just select in the corner here where you have a blank space, and just kind of go ahead and create that imaginary box around my circles there. You can see we can just keep going through, and it really shouldn't take too long to do this. All right. And in any case, you just get a little bit of a rhythm going, and you can just keep going all the way through. All right. So all the way through. Every other one. And of course, you can also make this where if the star was a little bit smaller or the design was a little bit smaller, obviously it would make it a little bit easier as well. All right, so there we go. So not too bad. And then what I can do here, honestly, let's do this. Red. Let's go yellow. And you guys can see now, I didn't like the way it extended too much, so now we can go ahead and change these colors. So you can see we're just basically matching these now to those colors. And again, don't be afraid. If it doesn't come out the way you want it to look at originally, just know that you can still go back and edit the stones. That's the beauty about working with rhinestones. It doesn't always have to end up the way it originally looks. All right, so again, just going to go in here, change a couple of these colors, change a couple of these colors, make that yellow, bam, and we're going to go here and make this red, and that's it. All right, so keep going down with the stars. That's going to look pretty cool once you have all your stars completed. Obviously, that's going to take some work, but overall, it's going to look pretty sweet once you completed that process. Good luck with the stars, yeah, right? I don't think I can get 50 stars in there at all, 51 stars in there at all. So we're just going to go ahead and keep that rhythm going down to the bottom. But again, guys, don't worry too much about being too perfect once you're creating the design. It's all about making sure that the design looks the way it should. So if it means you have to go back and redo a section, by all means, go back and redo that. It in the end, it's gonna look a lot better. All right, so take a little bit more time with the Rhinestone designs. There is gonna be some editing and some work to be done to get to that finished product. All right. So what do you guys think? Overall, are we looking good so far for our design here? And again, I don't want to waste too much time with the stars. Obviously, we get the concept with actually adding them to there. All right. Now the next thing we're gonna do is actually adding the text. All right. So that's gonna be a little bit more editing. It's not gonna come out as perfect as the square did right here. All right. So let's go here. Let's type the word America. Or what do you guys want? You guys want America? You guys want USA on the top? I'll leave this one to you guys. Which one do you think is going to look best? Is it going to be the USA at the top or America? Unite. Ooh, I like Unite. Let's do Unite. Why don't we do Unite? I like that. USA. Oh, why don't we do this? All right, why don't we do this then? Why don't we do USA and then Unite? Why not, right? Let's make it really let's change it up a little bit. Let's change it up a little bit. All right. Let's see. What font do you think this is gonna look good in? What do you guys think? A bubbly font, or do you guys want to keep it kind of that? Because the star is very square, we can keep that concept going with the text as well. What do you guys think? All right. So let's see what I have in here. Let's see. Arial black, maybe. Alright, so there's our USA. That's pretty large though, so I don't know how that, I don't think it's going to look right with the two text just because the size of the USA. So let's see. I mean, we can always obviously do something like this, but I don't think that's going to look as good. So let's just do, you want to do the USA over the blue? Okay, so you're saying right over the blue right here? So M, what we just did, what you just mentioned. Oh, above. Yeah, we can do it above. Okay. I was gonna say we just went from a beginners to an intermediate real quick by going from there to the inside there. But we can do it right there. I like that. And what do you think? Maybe at the bottom here, I don't know. We're just testing this out again. This is completely custom. So let's see what's gonna happen when we do this right here. Ooh, I kind of like the way this is looking, guys. Let's see. Let's go ahead and group this all together. So I'm going to select just the American flag here. I'm going to group that together. And what that's going to allow me to do now, by grouping it together, I can now select the United down here. All right, so I'm going to select the American flag. I'm holding down Shift. All right, so I'm holding down Shift, and I'm clicking on United. And what that does is basically centers it for me. Another way to do that is I can go from the outside here and just select it all. And that's going to select all those two right there. All right, so now we can go to my Edit tab, and I can go right here to my Align Center. So if I left click on that, it's going to align it to the center. Now, the one thing I want to make sure is I'm going to go to select the American flag again. I'm going to go to right here where it says Guides. And let me bring this down so you guys can see it a little bit better. But right here we have Guides. If I click on this one right here, the second one, it's going to tell me create guides left and right. So if I go ahead and left click on that and create those guidelines, it automatically tells me that the text is a little bit past those lines. So let's make sure it fits correctly. And again, just make sure that it's actually on the line. And that's pretty good. All right, so now that we got United, let's go ahead and fill this in. All right, so we got USA United. Let's go up here and let's go ahead and fill this in. All right, so let me go back to place and fill. Now here's the next tool that we're going to work with when creating this USA design. I'm now going to place the stones, but I'm going to place the stones on the actual lines, on these lines right here. On these lines. Remember earlier I mentioned the paths? All right, so just take that into account, paths. All right, so if I just want to add it to the paths right here, and again, these lines, the vector art lines here, those are your paths. If I want to add it just to the paths, what I can do is I can go to the wizard here. Again, when I'm using this particular feature here, these settings up here don't really matter. All right, now the only one that will be the spacing here. So if you change the spacing, you'll see the spacing between each stone will change. But that's about it. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to select the USA, and then down here we have path fill. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and left click on path fill, and there we have it. There's my USA. Now you can see it's a little bit overlapping the text there, or excuse me, the flag, but the good thing is because it's grouped, it makes it easy for me to go in there and just move it up some. So now what we've got to do is go in here and edit this. All right, so real quick, let's see who's paying attention, guys. We have this USA going right through it still. You see that? We still have the path going right through it. What do we have to do to get rid of that? Do you guys remember? You're right, clear path. And then what was that special key we need to click down? Shift click. You got it. You got it. M is on fire today. All right, so we have that completed. Now let's see what we can do here. Let's get in here and actually edit the design. All right. Now we're going to start from each letter, go from the U to the S to the A. All right. And the one thing that's really throwing me off right now in the U is right up here. So let's see what we can do here. And you can see where, remember earlier I mentioned about the corners, how you have overlapping stones? That's what happened right here. Now let me see something, because I think I can fit another stone right there. And I can. Very easily, all right? So watch. What I did, guys, was I highlighted the middle stone here, and I just moved it to the left a little bit. And then I drag it again and clicked right-click while dragging it, and that duplicates my stone. All right, let's do that again right here. Let me show you again one more time here. All right, so just brought this one a little bit to the left here, opened up this gap, so I know now I can fit another stone in there. Let's go ahead and move this to the right a little bit and right-click. All right, so while I'm dragging, so while I drag the stone here, I can right-click and it duplicates it. So you can see left-clicking down still, left-clicking down still. And you can see that by that little preview line on the circle there. I can just go throughout the screen here, just keep duplicating stones if I wanted to. So again, right-click, 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 right-click. And again, if you have some free time, try it. It's gonna make your life a lot easier when you're trying to duplicate some stones or duplicate objects. All right, so what do you guys think? It looks a lot better like that, right? Rather than just the one stone right there in the center. I like it. It looks a little bit more full. So we're going to go with that. Let's go now to the S here. And I guarantee you we're running into the same issue with the S. So let's go and move this one a little bit over, because you can see that was overlapping. Actually, you know what? We're not. Let's move this one just a tad bit over to the left, like so. And now we can go in here, and there's my S. And see how easy that was, guys? I didn't have to even go into my tools to actually respace it. Dana, great question. All right, so how do you make sure that the stones are straight? I was going to show you that at the end, but let's go ahead and cover it now. All right, so right here, she was saying that they're not straight. All right, so what I can do is I can highlight these here, or I can go shift click on each one. And then at the bottom right here, we have our magic respace. If I left click on that respace, it's going to respace them all for me. And you can see they're nice and straight now. All right, so if I go here and I go to edit, technically that line should be perfect, and it's not. So let's move that one down a little bit. All right, so you can see it's pretty close, but that respace is going to respace it for you like that. All right, so let's go back here. Same thing. Shift click on these right here and magic respace, and it didn't move it down. So you know what? Let's do it another way then. Let's do it another way then. For some reason that one didn't center it. So another way to do it, I can grab a tool like my 2-point line tool here. I'm going to start with this stone here. Hold control. Oh, get rid of that. All right, so go right here. Start, hold control, and I'm going to go right to this point here. So now I've created a straight line. Now with that line there, I can still use that magic respace. And you can see with that magic respace, it brings it to the center of that line. So now it's just about moving it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and move it up. There we go. Highlight and clear path. So that magic respace right there is going to be very, very, very important. Let me show you how we did that again. So one more time, guys. So let's say we had this row of stones here to the top, and this one's a little bit off, and this one's a little bit off. And I want my stones to be pretty center. I mean, on a straight line, right? So let's go ahead and grab that 2-point line tool, go from the center point to the center point. Now notice I'm creating a perfect line. The reason I can do that is by holding down control. Alright, so holding down control, let's drop that there. Now make sure when you do this that the stones are at least at some point touching the line. In this case, it's doing that, so we're good to go. I don't have to worry too much about it. Alright, so select the line. I have that line selected there that we just created. I'm going to go down here to the bottom and left click on the magic respace, and bam, right on that line. Alright, so we created a path for it. That straight line is going to be our path, and as long as the stones are touching anywhere that path, it's going to bring it to the center point. So you can see right here, if I go to the center of this, let me go ahead and clear my paths. Alright, so if I go to the center here, that line was going right through the center of each stone. That's why I was able to bring it down. Alright, Dana, did that make sense? Because that was a very, very good question. Alright, excellent. Let me know, Dana, if you want me to repeat that, let me know. I'll be more than happy to show you that one more time. Excellent. Alright, so let's go ahead and keep it moving, guys. Let's go ahead and keep it moving. Again, so we have a button that does merge your stones that are overlapping together. But here's my problem with that. Right now, I'm looking at this right here, and what's going to happen if I do that, right? Let me go ahead and select these stones right here. And our our merge overlap are right down here at the bottom of the wizard under the edit tab. I'm sorry, not under the edit tab, I'm sorry. Just at the bottom of the screen. This is actually always going to be there for you guys. I apologize for that. So what we can do from this point is I can either mark the top layer, or I can mark the bottom layer, or I can merge it. Now watch what happens when I merge it. You see that? How it does merge it together, but here's the thing is I didn't want it to look like that because I still want to make sure that this is here and this is here. Right? We wanted to kind of give it this look rather than the look we just had, which was this. Alright, and that's what merge overlap does. It brings them two stones together to a center point. So what I would do instead, and this is just me because I'm kind of anal when it comes to letting the software do a lot of the editing for me. I like to do the editing myself. And I don't know, I guess it's OCD. I'm not sure what it is, but I like to do the editing myself. So what I do, I go in here and I just go move this one over a little bit, move this one up some. It's duplicated. And then once we have that complete there, I can now go here. Alright, so we can select this stone right here in the corner. Shift click a couple of these on the path because I don't like the spacing of it. Notice how we have different spacing. Here our spacing is very tight. Here it gaps a little bit more, and then it just keeps getting further and further apart. Alright, so that same tool that I just showed. Alright, Dana brought up a great point earlier with the actual making it all perfect in a perfect straight line. That tool can also come in handy for things like this. Alright, so notice the name of it. It's called the Magic Respace tool. Alright, Magic Respace. So it tells me that it's going to magically respace all these stones. Now watch the gap here, and actually let me go ahead and get rid of this one. We'll get rid of that one so you guys can see the real impact of the tool. Alright, so we're going to go here, bam, knock out, select a few of these stones. So that's basically creating my own custom path at this point. I can now go down here to the bottom. Again, the Magic Respace, we have those two horizontal or vertical lines, stones at the bottom, and then the arrow inside facing both directions. That's going to be the tool for the Magic Respace. Let's go down here to the bottom, left click on that, and there's our Magic Respace. Alright, now if I zoom out, I don't like the way that's spaced. Why? Because it doesn't match with the rest of our S. So, any of you guys know one quick way to fix that issue? And I know there's a couple of you in here that go to a lot of my webinars, so you guys are going to be cheating, so I don't want you guys to answer. Alright, especially that Nicholas Pot guy. And I see Nicholas Potts is in here, so make sure Nicholas Potts doesn't answer this question since he works in the customer service. Okay, Dana, so let me show you. So another really cool feature in the software to make the editing process of Rhinestones much, much quicker for you guys is right down here. We have this little arrow that faces up and this little arrow that faces down. Now you guys can see at the bottom here, it will tell you the status of each tool. Right? So if I hover over the top arrow there, it tells me add one stone. Now this only works if you have a path created like that. Alright, so in this case I can hit that up arrow and there we go. Now we've closed the gap. Hey, we might be able to fit another one in there. Let's see. Alright, so here's the problem with adding that last stone that we just added in there. You see now it's too close together where, again, it doesn't match the rest of the design or the S. So now we know to go back a stone and that's good. We can leave it at that. Alright, so let's shift click on clear paths, and there's my S. My S is completed. Now with this one right here, same thing. I'm just going to move this one down some. Alright, move this one down some here, because I could tell that bottom piece wasn't completely straight. And we're just going to go here, and there's my A. Alright, we can move this one a little bit over. Alright, so there's my A. We're looking up here very easily. I can just move these over to the left a little bit, to the right. And again, we have completed our A. That's it. That's how easy it was to finish that USA at the top there. Alright, so let's go move to the bottom and finish the United. Now, does anybody have any questions on the USA up here? And if you do, don't worry, because we're about to do the same exact thing at the bottom with the United. But of course, we're going to make it, it's just, at this point, we're just going for repetition. Alright, I want to be as repetitive and as annoying as possible to you guys of how I'm doing this, so that way it clicks. Alright, so, and don't worry, I can do that very easily. I can get into your heads just by just repeating myself over and over and over again, so you guys get the concept down. Alright, so with the United, I want you guys to kind of help me through. Dane, I know this is your first one, so help me through this one. You remember what we did? The first step we did to begin the process here? Okay. Alright, so here's what we're going to do first. Alright, so we have one tool in the place and fill tab that we're going to work with. Alright, so we typed our text out. Now we're ready to add the stones. That's going to be the first step. Alright, so first step is adding the stones. Which feature on this, out of all the 4 options you have here, which feature do you think we're going to work with to get us started, or get those stones on the paths? Path fill. So you've got it, path fill. So we go down here, left click on path fill, and there is my path fill, and believe it or not, that filled in really, really nicely. Does anybody know why that filled in a little bit nicer than the USA at the top here? So why did that U actually fill out much, much better than this U up here? Remember this one we had to do some editing with? This one we don't have to at all. There you go, Jennifer. The most obvious part of it is larger. Exactly. So this is much smaller. So what we're trying to do there is fit these little 0.130 stones into that smaller text. And this is why I always say text is the most difficult thing to stone out. Why? Because of this reason here. Depending on the size, it's not the actual full size of the text. It's the size of each individual letter. So this letter right here, we're looking at 1.6 inches wide by 1.6 inches tall. Where this one we're looking at is 1.8 inches. So that 0.3 inch is making a big, big difference on how the stones are placed. And the reason for that, the stones are very small as well. So with that little bit of extra space, now we have a little bigger gap to fit more stones into, and it obviously makes the design a lot nicer. And ultimately, it's going to make it easier for us to go in there and edit. So this came out really nice. All right, right off the bat, I see a couple, not a big deal. All right, so let's go here. This is good. The U is good, so I'm going to go down here and merge it all together. Uh-oh, guys. You see that? I started talking, I forgot to do one thing. One thing, and I'm actually happy it happened. I'm actually glad it happened. What's the one thing I need to do? Right now, notice I tried to do my merge overlap, and it gave me a message error. All right. Let me go to the top. Let me show you what we're working with here. So let's go to View Wireframe. Uh-oh. Look what's there. Remember, we always have those paths no matter what. When we create a Rhinestone file, the first thing that we need to do is remove those paths. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's click here, and let's go ahead and get rid of those paths, and that's it. Clear paths, let's go to wireframe, and now we're ready to edit. Alright, so let's go here back to enhance. This is good, so I can go in here. Let me merge those, because again, we have those overlapping stones here. So we have a couple overlapping stones, and again, I don't need to edit that, so I'll be happy with the way that gets edited by just the software. Here we have a couple areas where we could fit another stone. Again, just remove a couple of those to the left and right. That's good. Let's do the same thing right here. Left and right. Bam. That's good. Alright, so now we can go highlight and merge overlap. Alright, and again, guys, notice how I'm not worried about the stones overlapping. Why? Because 99% of the times I could go in there and just move it just a tad bit and it'll fix the problem. So instead of having to delete the whole entire stone and move rows around, I can get around that just by either moving it to the left or to the right just a tad bit. Alright, so that's good. The I looks good. Let's go ahead and merge those. The T, ooh, let's see what happens here. You guys think we can fit another stone in there? Let's try it. So I have these stones here. Let's go ahead and do that magic respace. So I can highlight these here. Oop, missed the bottom one. And let's do the magic respace. And we can technically get away with it. We can technically get away with it. I think we can. Let's just leave it like that and see how it looks at the end. Which one? All right, I like it. You mean this one right here? You're saying these two right here? Yes, on the top. Okay, it is a little bit off, but guess what, Dana? And this is what you'll notice once you actually create the design. So the reason it looks a little bit off, I mean, it is barely off. Don't get me wrong, it is off, and you can just easily move a couple of these over and kind of get that look away. Kind of go here and move this one over some, and you can totally do that. But that's a lot of time you're going to take to do that. Once you actually complete the process and cut this out, you won't even be able to tell. And that's the biggest issue I had with learning how to do those rhinestone designs, was not to be too anal, like you're saying. Because at first I would have tried to make every possible decision to fix that little stone there. And guess what happened? You cut this design out. This one was a little bit off, and I fixed it. This one was a little bit off, and I didn't. I cut the design out, made my template, created my transfer, pressed it on the shirt, and guess what happened? This right here and this right here, you couldn't tell the difference. All right, so that was that. At that point, I realized, okay, doesn't always have to be completely perfect. And the reason it looks that way, you know, the reason it's bugging you right now is because I am zoomed in quite a lot. And no problem. Those are great questions. Honestly, those are great questions. Those are the questions that will help those in the webinar that are listening in. You know, those are great questions. Those are always questions that are brought up, and you know, people want to know, hey, is that going to matter? Is that going to make a big difference at the end? But realistically, once it gets onto the shirt, it's very tough to tell. And again, that's just because I'm very zoomed in. You know, let's take a realistic look at it from an outsider's point of view when it's actually on the t-shirt. Could you really tell at this point now that that little dot right there is off? Even there, can you really tell? Right there, I could probably tell. But but you know what I'm saying? Once you start zooming out and kind of going away from it, the reason why it looks a little bit more off than it really is just you're really zoomed in. I mean, and I like to work with each individual design at a time. So I'm really zoomed in when I'm doing my designs. And that was, again, one of the biggest things I ran into, was I would always try to make it look perfect, even though at the end it's not really that noticeable. All right, so if it means you spending another 30 minutes on the designing, I would not take that time. I would just leave it as is, because it's not going to be as noticeable once it's on the garment. All right, but that's it, guys. I mean, from here, let's get rid of that one. We don't need that stone there. Let's see. You know what we could do here? We can honestly move this one down just a nudge, like that. Maybe this one down a little bit. And I'm just using my arrow keys at this point to move these. And now we've created a little bit more of a gap. That's good. And that's good to go, guys. So we can make this our blue. Merge all those together. And we have right here, we have our USA. Obviously, we're going to get here. Let's make sure all are yellow. Shift click on yellow. Or excuse me, shift click on, not shift click, but left click on same colors at the top here. So if I click on one of my yellow colors, selecting just this yellow color right here, I can go to the top, right where it says select all same colors. Left click on that, and you can see it select all my yellows. So now all I have to do is go down here, select my crystal stones, bam, highlight my design. We got an easy, simple weed border, which is just basically create a background for your design. So I can just left click on that, and there's my USA United design. All right, and you can see now that it's not yellow, you can see those vibrant colors really stand out. All right, so what do you guys think? I know it might have seemed like a lot from the get-go, but realistic, I mean, it all comes together. And the American flag, very easy to create. Obviously, once you do the hatch fill, you're able to just go ahead and just fill it in by doing just selecting certain stripes or certain lines and changing the color. That's how easy it is. All right, do the background color, please. Yes, absolutely. So highlight my design. Up here in my toolbar, we have simple weed border. Left click on that, and that's all there is to it. All right. So what do you guys think? Overall, not a bad design to create, right? And it's actually a really cool looking design. I really enjoyed the USA and the United there. So M and Sue, thank you for the suggestions there. I think we brought it together and it came out pretty cool. What do you guys think? And the nice thing is we were able to adjust that USA so it's not too large of a design. We're still looking at a design that's under 10 inches in width and 10 inches in height. You see that? And again, that was just basically working with a rectangle, doing a quick little hatch fill, and just using our pick tool really to do the rest of us for the flag, and then the USA United with that path fill makes it really easy to create the text. So you don't have to. And with something like this, guys, stay away from creating the text with. I would stay away from creating the text with fills because at that point you would overdo it. I think it would be an overkill, and also it would take a lot more time to create. So something like this, keep it simple. Outline is good because what you want to focus on is the American flag in the center. Awesome, Em. I'm so glad I could help with getting you a little bit back up and running with the wizard. And Em, you always know if you ever have any questions, you can always ask. Shoot us an email, give us a call. You know, Em, you've been around for a while. You know the process. No problem at all. All right, guys. Well, that is the conclusion of our free webinar today. Again, I appreciate everybody stopping by. I do apologize for a little bit of a hiccup earlier today on the link there. But it looks like we still had a packed house, and overall we had an amazing looking design created. And obviously we were able to go through all the different tricks and tips and show you some different strategies to complete the process. So thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for asking great questions. Have a great weekend, everybody. If Jennifer, I got the American flag lips design. I would love to have a Canadian flag lips. Oh, Jennifer, we could do some. Jennifer, this is what I like. I like you. I like these suggestions. Shoot me an email. Can you shoot me an email at info? Actually be working. I'm actually working on creating the webinars for this month right now. So yeah, shoot me an email and I'll be more than happy to add something like that into that. Absolutely, let's do it. All right, guys, thank you again for joining me. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call. Telephone number is 941-755-1696. Have a great rest of your Friday and have a great